All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I extend a warm welcome to each one of you to this free webinar titled How Read and Publish Agreements Help Break Down Financial Barriers to Open Access Publishing. This webinar today is hosted by IGI Global Scientific Publishing, and it is sponsored by the Open Science Education Institute, also known as OSEI. My name is Savannah Pecknold. I am the Communications Coordinator of Open Science Publishing at IGI Global Scientific Publishing, and I am honored to serve as one of the moderators of this live event alongside my colleague, William Hartley. Will, please introduce yourself.
Hi, all. I hope you're having a great day thus far. My name is Will Hartley, Director of eBook Collections with IGI Global Scientific Publishing. I essentially oversee all things eBook collection related, ranging from supporting libraries with identifying collections that align with their needs and budget, to providing technical support for issues that may arise. So thank you all so much for attending.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with IGI Global Scientific Publishing, we are a global academic publisher of books and journals within the areas of business and management, science, technology, and medicine, and education and social sciences. With offices in Hershey, New York, London, and Beijing, our mission is to publish tomorrow's research today, ensuring timely, innovative work reaches the global stage. With contributions from over 250,000 scholars worldwide and a continually growing catalog of over 10,000 titles, IGI Global Scientific Publishing's comprehensive book collection offers one of the most robust repositories of research available. Not only that, but IGI Global Scientific Publishing, in full support of the open access movement, transitioned to its full portfolio of nearly 200 journals to Gold Open Access in 2023, and has since been able to make authors make the research freely available to readers worldwide. Understanding that publishing open access can be a costly burden for researchers, IGI Global Scientific Publishing is proud to share that we are now able to offer our own take on the industry's read and publish licensing models for institutional libraries. As a Gold Open Access publisher, a read and publish model offers libraries the ability to grant their researchers access to over 200,000 peer-reviewed book chapters across our main core 3 subjects, as previously mentioned, alongside the ability to publish unlimited open access articles in our nearly 200 journals at no cost to authors. With unlimited simultaneous user access, no DRM, no download restrictions, and flexible transparent pricing, our take on Read and Publish strives to sustainably and fairly support libraries and researchers' open access initiatives. For those of you who are researchers attending, please feel free to scan the QR code on the left to recommend these resources to your library. For our librarians attending, if you'd like to learn more about how we can support your open access initiatives, please feel free to scan the QR code on the right or contact me after today's webinar. I'll leave this for a few seconds if any of you need to scan it.
And Savannah, there was a request to slow down your speak a little bit.
Wait, what?
Slow down your pace a little bit.
Oh, I'm talking. Okay, that's fine. All right. Everyone's good for me to move on. I can also share the links after this too if you don't have it, if this QR code is not scannable. Same with any of the QR codes that are on this webinar. Next, I'd like to introduce you all to this webinar sponsor, the Open Science Education Institute, which is the official community platform for open science. OSCI is a community-driven platform for researchers, librarians, and publishers to engage in collaborative discourse on the principles, benefits, and challenges within open science. Feel free to check it out at oseinstitute.org, or you can also feel free to scan the QR code to read posts from both our expert and guest contributors. If you would like to address current issues within open access through your own blog, please feel free to contact OSCI at contact@oseinstitute.org. Just for a little extra information, this is something that IGI Global Scientific Publishing started early last year, so it's still fairly new, and always looking for new perspectives on the blog. I'll leave it there. Anybody needs to scan? I might go on to the next one. But next, I'd like to introduce you to today's panelists, which consist of both researchers and scholarly communication librarians. First, I'd like to start with Amie. If you may introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Amie Freeman. I'm the Assistant Head of Acquisitions and Scholarly Communication at the University of South Carolina, where I have been for about 17 years in different roles, and I am very happy to be joining you all today.
Thank you very much, Amie. Happy for you to joining us too. All right, and then I think Sam, I'm not sure. Is Sam still here? All right, Sidra, I'll go introduce Sidra, our first researcher. Unfortunately, our other second librarian, Joseph Thomas, was unable to make today's webinar due to unforeseen circumstances. So I'll go ahead and move on to our researchers. Sidra, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sidra Zaheer, and I'm a graduate research and teaching assistant at Oklahoma State University. I'm a doctoral student, and it's my third academic year, and I'm also pursuing a lot of research. Hence, I'm in one of the panelists because I really wanted to voice, the graduate students and talk about open access publishing. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Sidra. Happy to have you here too. I'm not quite sure if Sam is here.
I'm here. I'm with you.
Okay, cool. All right, Sam, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Sam Zaza. I'm associate professor in the Information Systems and Analytics Department, Jones College of Business, Middle Tennessee State University. I am a researcher. I have a paper that I published open access, so I can talk about my own experience. I'm also serve as AE or senior editor, associate editor to 5 journals as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Sam. Before we begin, I'd like to note that our panelists will be answering pre-assigned questions within 4 main topics, and we will conclude with an audience Q&A session. So as you listen, I do encourage you to submit your own questions through the Q&A feature, or you can also plop them in the chat as well, and I'll handle them there.
All right, well, the first topic today will be about growing demand for open access publishing. Starting with the researchers' perspectives, what motivates you to publish your work open access, and how important is it for ensuring your research reaches the widest possible audience? I'd like to invite Sam to share her responses.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So open access, it means it is accessible to a wider range of researchers to actually cite your work, build on your work, and consider your work as part of the knowledge, body of knowledge. It does facilitate, and again, when we get promotion and tenure, this is one of the metrics that they measure us on, how much your work is being cited. But if you are behind a paywall, it's not everybody is going to actually, pay for it, especially for under-resourced universities or under-resourced countries, right? I've seen it, honestly, like in some part of the region, not just in the US, but also in some part of the world, where payment is not really supported by universities or their libraries don't have those resources or access, you will see that our work is not really included in their research because of the cost. So open access actually facilitate the distribution, the accessibility, and to highlight you as a researcher.
Great. Thank you so much, Sam. I'd like to invite Sidra to share her response as well.
Yeah, thank you, William. And I think that Sam has really put forth like kind of a very nice overview about what open access is. And she highlighted a good points that I was also going to be talking about, because I come from a unique positionality as a grad student, but also as a multilingual scholar, and as someone also who has experienced limited access to research. So open access is not really abstract to us. I vividly remember being in spaces, I believe both as a student and also as a teacher back in my hometown in Pakistan, where I would find a study or a citation and I'm like, oh, this is what I was looking for. And when you click it, and that is when you're hitting a paywall and you're like, oh, I am not given access to this. So I really think these kind of moments makes you wonder, like, oh, the knowledge exists, that someone has produced it, but that it was not produced for you, or you are outside that circle. So and I also believe one of the important points that I really need to establish before our conversation moving forward is access is not neutral. I believe access is a form of privilege. So who gets to read, who gets to build on the existing work, and who gets to enter a part of the conversation that people are writing about? All that is shaped by these kind of resources and open access. And it also depends of course, in geography, where you are coming from. If, like Sam mentioned, if you are from under-resourced areas, so what happens, when you are trying to access that knowledge out from there? So I do believe that if we are not going to interrogate and be thinking about those privilege or systems of privilege, we are reproducing the same exclusions that we are talking about, and even within academia. But I also see that it is not only like a US-based concept, it is not like our Western institutional problem. I also see that there are scholars, there are teachers, there are researchers in the marginalized communities, I would say, or across the global South, whose work is rich. And their questions are, I would say, important and urgent, but their voices do not circulate in the same way. And why is that? Because the structures of access and publishing are kind of uneven. So I'm thinking about, with open access to all the teachers, all the students who are looking for the like-minded research for something that they can build on, but then are never given access. And then from the same under-resourced institutions too, I'm thinking about them, any scholar from the marginalized community who has done some wonderful work, but it is never cited, it is never acknowledged, because only it never entered the right circuits of visibility, that we say. So I really believe that these are some important points that we need to consider for open access publishing. That is why it is really important. And it is should not be institutionalized. I believe it needs to be individualized too.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Sidra. Moving over to Amie to get her take on this topic. Amie, how are you seeing demand for open access publishing grow among researchers at your institution?
Yeah, thank you, William. So over the past several years here at USC, we have seen that demand for open access publishing grow pretty astronomically. Our data does reflect a massive increase in open access publishing. So the percentage of golden hybrid open access publications that was produced by USC over the past 10 years, and I went and I looked at this yesterday, has actually increased almost 400%. We conducted a survey just a couple of years ago, and most of the faculty that we surveyed did believe that providing public access to USC's research has a big role in furthering the overall mission of our university. And given a choice, the majority of faculty believe that publishing open access also does have a positive effect on their career. Most faculty would prefer to publish open access given the opportunity. So we know that, while faculty who are already engaged in open access may have been more likely to respond to that survey, we were still really struck overall by that faculty preference for open access publishing. Another, of course, major reason that we have seen that demand grow in the United States is because of grant funding requirements that have been implemented, both across federal grant funders and private grant funders. So publishing open access in a gold or a hybrid journal does tend to remove some of those copyright and licensing uncertainties that our researchers are faced with when they are required to make their published research publicly available. And we've certainly found that those requirements have increased the demand overall for open access publishing on our campus.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amie.
All right, for our second topic, this covers the barriers to open access publishing, which some of you have already kind of addressed, so I'm happy to move on to this next one. Going back to Sam and Sidra, despite the benefits of open access, what challenges or barriers such as APC costs have influenced your ability to publish open access? I would like to start with Sam first, please.
Sure. So for instance, my institution does not pay for open access fees. They don't. And honestly, and this is like a situation that happened with me like 2 weeks ago. I do a lot of research, and I do research with my colleagues here at MTSU. But then instead of focusing on how we can further the research, what is the next paper, when we were done writing the paper, we were looking at what journals are not going to cost us money. You know, that shift and that worry for researcher, for me, it's just not acceptable, honestly. Like, our work is to advance knowledge, to advance whatever that's going to benefit society, industry, you name it, us as a collective. But then I need to worry about getting funds. Like, usually I come from the College of Business. We don't really rely on grants to pay for open access. Yes, my institution has, for instance, with the ACM, but not as institutional membership, but not with any other journal. So for a researcher to go through this, I mean, I can only imagine how detrimental it is even for the morale of us as researchers. And I can see the gap widening, honestly, between those who have versus those who have not. It is just really shifting the focus from research to, equity, to, second tier, first tier. It's not about your work anymore. It's about what you can afford, right? So again, the major barrier is cost, and it is very, very real. I published an article that actually one of my co-author, their institution had like a quota with the journal that they can publish, like, I think 5 open access, and this is how I was able to get my paper published open access. But there is no way I'm gonna pay out of pocket 5,000, 10,000, whatever. It was like 5,000. There is no way I can pay out of pocket. And I mean, I live here, but then if you think globally, I mean, that's a lot of money. That could be maybe a salary for a year for a certain faculty in a certain country, right? So again, cost is the major challenge. And without institutional support, I cannot see how scholars can actually assimilate and contribute to any ongoing conversation on any topic.
Thank you, Sam. That was great. Thank you. Sidra, would you mind sharing your thoughts on this question as well?
Yeah, I'd be backing on what just Sam said, and I do believe that cost is the only thing that is hindering the open access publishing. Like, we talk about so much that we have to democratize knowledge. But when the production side of that comes and we are like, oh, the knowledge is still gated by the cost of it. So we have only shifted like towards the point of reading, towards the point of publishing. So I really believe that APC cost, article processing charges, which can run into thousands of dollars, as Sam said, it becomes a very real question. And as a grad student, I can speak from my experience too, that we have written so many articles. I have collaborated with my colleagues on this, but we keep on looking for avenues, ventures, grants, funding. How can we have that APC cost covered? And to be really honest, I don't think institutions have money sitting aside that they would just lend it to you for you to publish, go and publish your articles for the outreach of your work. And I do think that that poses a real serious question. I recently, submitted an article, and I was thinking about do I have funding for this? Is there a waiver available for me, or should I choose a different venue because I cannot actually afford that? And these are not hypothetical questions, to be honest. These are decisions that, as researchers, we have to navigate in our daily lives. So, I really want to be honest here, because everybody glorifies, or glosses over the tension, but wanting to publish openly and being able to are not always the same thing. So, I really think that, and then again, I would also center my conversation around the kind of marginalized voices that I was talking about earlier, that this is again what we are trying to do over there. So whose voices are we are getting to see in the publishing or in the journals? What side of the knowledge are we still looking at it? And I really think that whose frameworks, get carried forward too. So when financial barriers shapes who publishes openly, I think they are also shaping whose voices are getting amplified and whose are remaining constrained. So this is a bigger question for us to consider. I also think while Sam was talking, and it clicked to my mind that, oh, we have Q1, Q2 journals, right? And everybody would want to, publish in the Q1 or Q2 journals, in the top tier journals. But can we afford that? Again, is my work worth it? Yes, definitely it is. But can I afford that? So there are certain barriers. I do believe that some have privilege over the others of getting the funding done, but others do not. So that is a very serious question that everybody has to consider, and these are real barriers that we all have to navigate.
Can I add one more thing? I know it's
Mhm.
not my turn,
That's
but
fine.
on the flip side of this, right? What I'm thinking about, what really concerns me, is that how other under-resourced, again, Global South, or any under-resourced university institution, how they are preparing and their PhD students. If going through the PhD program, I mean, I graduated from Florida State University. It is a top tier research school. So money is no issue, right? But I know some other under-resourced universities, they cannot afford actually, and they cannot make students incur the APC costs. So what kind of knowledge actually they are assimilating throughout their PhD program? You know what I mean? And how they are being trained. Are they being trained on those Q1, Q2? Or if you're following the ABDC list, the A star and A? And if it's not, then what perspective are they being taught? Right? Again, it's whose voices are heard, whose voices are not heard, but also what knowledge for these under-resourced universities, what knowledge are they able to afford to train the future of their PhD programs? And just if we think big, see how this is impacting their development, their research development as a country. We're not talking about one institution,
Yeah.
right? We're really talking globally. I mean, that gap is just getting wider and wider. I don't know how we're gonna bridge it, honestly.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you. I'd like to move over to Amie for a response on this topic. What are the most common barriers researchers face when trying to publish open access in your experience, and how do these challenges affect research dissemination?
Yeah, well, I'm certainly going to echo Sam and Sidra that by far and away the biggest, most common barrier for our researchers, even in, a fairly well-funded institution, is going to be the cost of publishing open access. We do have some researchers who have said that they have some difficulty locating high impact open access journals, so that's another barrier. We have some who are thinking all the time about that sort of daunting presence of predatory publishers and the concern of making sure that they're not choosing a predatory to publish journal to publish in. So that tends to be a deterrent. And we have seen that, while effects on tenure and promotion are less and less of a concern every year as open access becomes more common, we certainly do still have a few researchers out there who remain worried that publishing open access is going to have some negative effects on their tenure and promotion and career prospects overall. Um, Interestingly, and this is not what I initially expected to find, but across the board, we have really found that our early and our mid-career researchers tend to be more overwhelmed or encounter these barriers more often than late career researchers. And to an extent, that does make sense because they tend to be a little bit less well funded when it comes to grants, a little bit more uncertain about moving forward in terms of, again, there's career prospects. So all of those are certainly barriers, but that cost is huge. When our researchers aren't able to find funding for publications, or we don't have a read and publish agreement, we do try to help them wherever we can by offering some sort of alternative publishing source that they can publish in. That's a good fit for their research. We might choose to help them archive their non-open access research in our institutional repository or in a subject repository. But overall, that does make that process of publishing a little bit slower, a little bit less seamless for our researchers. And ultimately, we might not be successful. We might not be able to find funding. So understandably, researchers might not be willing to take those steps to work with us to make sure that the research is publicly available to that online public community.
Yeah, thank you. The repositories kind of reminds me of the green open access a little bit, but thank you. All right.
All right. Up next, we'll be exploring the role of read and publish agreements. So, on the researcher side, how would the ability to publish open access without APC costs through institutional agreements influence your publishing decisions? I'd like to invite Sam to share her response first.
I think it will change my decision significantly, definitely, because as I mentioned before, when I select a venue or a publication outlet, the first thing I look at is cost. Am I going to have an APC bill at the end or not, right? Even if that outlet is better or better fit for my work and all of that, but um, I mean, if I can publish open access, if I can disseminate first, as I feel it as an obligation, paying back to community, society when I make my research that is accessible to everybody. First, it will help me for my promotion and tenure as a researcher. It will help me to have access to all the articles that I do need to build my own research, but also I will have the opportunity for my research to be accessible and to be integrated to anybody who is doing the same as I'm doing. So definitely it does affect my publishing decisions, and it is something will be very helpful for all of us as researcher, whether for our own career, whether for our own discipline, or whether for our own contribution to society, to humanity, and advancing knowledge for the betterment of societies.
Thank you so much, Sam. Sidra, may you share your thoughts on the question?
Yeah, I think I agree with Sam that if these, financial barriers, they are removed from this, or this layer is taken away completely, I can focus on, the work itself and, where my work can actually go and who it can reach are going to be my next concerns. But I really think it is also very important that we extend these conversations to globally, because these kinds of agreements, though they are incredibly valuable, but if they are going to be concentrated on within the same well-resourced institutions or even in the specific regions, I believe that the inequities I was talking about within academia, it is going to further give pay to that. So we really need to think that if read and publish agreements not need to be only within the well-resourced or in the R1 or R2 universities, because they are already publishing a lot of research. It is going to be valuable for them too, but we also need to look at, the communities or the marginalized communities or under-resourced communities, how we can reach out to them and make them the part of this, valuable agreement. And I also think that, I would say to just sum it up, I would say that this model, it is going to benefit the scholars like me, as a grad student, but it might benefit like 30 universities in 30 countries, but it is also only a beginning. For it to arrive completely, we have more miles and we have more universities to cover for it to have a global kind of an outreach that we are wanting to have with read and publish agreements.
Thank you so much, Sidra. Going back over to Amie, how do read and publish agreements help institutions support researcher demand for open access while removing financial barriers to publishing?
Yeah, so I'm going to reference that survey that we did a couple years ago again. So in that survey for researchers, we did find that the absolute most popular option for supporting open access initiatives, and we listed off quite a few different choices, was for us, either as a library or as an institution as a whole, to form those agreements with publishers that allow our researchers to publish their papers open access at no personal cost, no out-of-pocket cost. So we know that these are very popular agreements. They're really popular with our researchers. But as a library, we have to think about these initiatives carefully. We're looking at all sorts of things when we make a decision to move into a read and publish agreement. We're looking at, financial security, the fiscal sustainability. We're looking at how relevant it is subject-wise. We are looking at our researcher feedback. So how many people are requesting these materials? How many of our researchers are publishing in this type of content? We're thinking about the overall research impact of the suite of journals that are included. And we're thinking about staff workflows, of course. We're looking at what our peers are doing. So we're looking at all of those things when we're evaluating new read and publish agreements. But of course, our overall biggest consideration is the ability to stay as close to cost neutral as possible. I've looked in the chats, and a lot of folks are talking about library budgets, and that's a huge challenge. There's not a lot of room in the budget to pay additional funds for a read and publish agreement. So we have to really make sure that we're balancing that with our collections needs. So like I said, we are constantly reviewing potential agreements. We're thinking about where we want to invest, whether we have any money to invest or not. And when it makes sense, financially and based on all those other criteria, we do try really hard to offer those read and publish agreements so that we can remove some of those financial barriers that we've talked about for publishing open access for our researchers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amie.
All right, so our final topic will be about connecting access, funding, and research impact. So similar as before, we're going to start with our researchers. So how does having both access to the research literature needed to inform your work and APC-funded open access publishing opportunities influence the quality and reach of the research you produce? Sam, if you may start us off, please.
Sure. Let me first start with that I believe that read and publish agreement is not just a financial convenience, really. It is more an investment in the quality. It's an investment in us as researcher. It is about equity. It is about global reach and contributing to the research society and the research that institutions produce. Now, how does having both access actually impacted my work, the quality? These two are really connected. So if I have access, open access to any article that I need, definitely I will have the whole landscape available to me and I will have a better understanding of where the field is, right? We all do kind of literature review to position our research into that stream of research to build on prior studies. If I don't have access, I'm not gonna know what has been done before in some areas, and I need to just go simply without it. So having that open access is a crucial because actually it bridged the gap, right? It bridged the gap for me, but also I will be able to read more broadly. I will be able to produce higher quality research because of equity, accessibility, and having the whole landscape available for me. That's for me in developing my research. On the flip side, for me as a researcher, my research will be global and globally available. It means I will have a global audience. And if I have in mind that what I'm writing is for a global audience, my research will be more impactful. And honestly, I will feel better as a researcher that I am contributing globally. I'm not just contributing to a subset of the population. So definitely, um, read and publish agreement is crucial for us as researchers.
Thank you, Sam. That was awesome. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to Sidra.
Yeah, I agree with what just Sam said. And for me, even, access and publishing are part of the same cycle. The work I am going to produce is going to be shaped by what I can access. And then the impact of that work depends on, who can access it after me. So basically, I'm a PhD student in literacies and language arts education, and a lot of my work and research revolves around teachers, students, and as a multilingual scholar, I do research a lot about the multilingual communities and also marginalized communities. So I do believe that if my work is centering those communities, but my outreach is limited and it is not reaching the people it is supposed to be, then for whom I'm producing all of this work for, right? So for me, it is really important for us to have that open access publishing and read and publish agreements, for the work to keep moving. If my work is going to reach the classrooms, it is going to inform the teacher's practice, and it is going to become a part of a larger conversation that we are having. So it is really important to have the research not only in the academic journals. It should be something that people, take up. They respond to that and also build on their own in their own spaces. So it's really important for us to have those agreements for the global outreach.
Thank you, Sidra. Similarly, going to turn it back over to Amie. In what ways do read and publish agreements help institutions strengthen research output while expanding the global visibility and accessibility of their scholars' work?
Yeah, thanks, Savannah. So, I'm not actually completely sure that read and publish agreements necessarily increase or strengthen our research output from an institutional perspective. Our researchers would be publishing regardless of whether they were given the opportunity to publish open access or not. So that research output would likely be the same. But on the other hand, I do feel very strongly that they contribute to global research output by providing researchers like Sam and Sidra mentioned, who might not have otherwise had access to these latest scientific findings with that immediate access to research so that they can in turn build off of that work, produce their own published works, keep that research cycle moving. One thing that I will note though, from an impact perspective is that we have seen improved impact metrics for almost all, or for a good majority of the research that has been published open access under our read and publish agreements. So most of our researchers have chosen to opt in, have elected to publish open access when they have been presented with the option through our read and publish agreements. Occasionally we'll have people opt out, but for the most part, researchers are choosing open access. And we have seen that when they do, the visibility of their articles and their research does increase pretty significantly. We've seen that articles that are published open access tend to receive, maybe 3 or more times the number of views that our subscription articles have are receiving. We also know that our open access articles are experiencing a pretty minor, but not a non-existent citation bump. It's not significant, but I think when you're looking at things like tenure, promotion, career prospects, even having a small citation advantage is going to be beneficial for our authors. And we've also seen that those alt metrics, those alternative metric scores, do tend to increase with open access publishing as part of our read and publish deals. So research tends to be mentioned more frequently in areas like social media, in our blogs, even our policy references. So we are certainly seeing that global visibility, that global accessibility is increased with our research that's been published through our read and publish agreements.
Thank you, Amie. So I was reading one of the questions in the chat. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, let me go here. Well, what have we done to all of our panelists? So it is 9:45. We do have time for a Q&A session. We might actually be able to end the webinar a little bit earlier. So if any have questions for Amie, Sam, or Sidra, please post them in the QA feature or place them in the chat. I have seen, going through the chat, I've seen a few questions here, so I'm going to go through them really quick. But I did have one asked by Barbara Walker. This was for Sam and Sidra. Are either of your institutions participating in published agreements specific to your disciplines or field of study?
I'm gonna say what I know is for the I think the only thing that I know is that is on the website for our library, the list of available resources. Another thing, I think they have something for open access with ACM, Association for Computing Machinery. Again, I know about it because I publish and I'm senior editor for the database, which is part of ACM. But I'm sure we have something. I didn't read the whole list, but at least for ACM, I know we have that.
So did you have a comment? Oh, sorry.
No. Yeah, I just before this webinar, I was searching through our website, and we do have some read and publish agreements. It is mostly with Oxford and Cambridge, but at Oklahoma State University. But I do think that we do have some of the cost cutting, like 10% discount on Sage Publishing, stuff like that. But I think that is what I can see. But regarding, again, speaking of my personal experience, I have not benefited from it in any way.
There was a question by Tim Schlack. And I believe this might be a question that maybe any three of you could respond to. So I'll read the whole thing, but it says, I appreciate the panel highlighting how APC costs create real barriers to visibility. Many researchers, especially from under-resourced institutions or the Global South, experience this directly and struggle to make their work openly accessible. It's an important point. One practical wrinkle I'm noticing, the webinar is sponsored by a for-profit publisher actively promoting transformative agreements, giving the discussion's emphasis on how power structures reproduce themselves through knowledge systems. I'm curious how the panel applies that same lens to the sponsorship context itself. How does the panel see this fitting into the broader goal of truly open knowledge structures? Are there ways to pursue openness that avoid reinforcing vendors' gatekeeping, perhaps through more diamond open access, society-led models, or direct infrastructure investment? So I did think this question was interesting. So if any of you guys have any thoughts on it, please feel free to share.
I'm happy to just kick us off with this question. And it's a very good question. It's something that I think about a lot, actually, Tom. So I appreciate you raising it. Read and publish agreements are one piece of our open access ecosystem that we think about. These are very important points, and a lot of the conversations that have come up surrounding equity and making these opportunities available to everybody, not just the researchers within our institution. These are really important questions, and this is something that we actively do try to work on. So within our institution, we do try to invest in open infrastructure to the extent that we can fiscally and in terms of our staff workflow. So we do dedicate a certain number of our time making sure that we are contributing back. So we are involved in groups like Open Access Switchboard, those types of memberships that are kind of providing that infrastructure in place more holistically. We also are a big supporter of Diamond open access publications. We have an institutional repository that, of course, we can make our open access available green. So sort of if we have publications that aren't published open access initially, we can still make those available. But through our institutional repository, we also do publish something like 17 Diamond open access journals, and those are for the most part open to anybody to publish in at no cost. So that's a big piece of our contributing back. We also, do participate in initiatives like Subscribe to Open, so where we would potentially be investing in a subscription cost. Instead, we're making sure that those initiatives or those journals or those publications are opened up for anybody to contribute to at no cost, not just our particular researchers. And we look a lot at supporting open monograph initiatives as well. So, there's only so much that we can do within the confines of our budget, but we do try to make sure that to the extent possible, we are distributing that.
Thank you, Amy. Sam, Sidra, do you guys have any thoughts on this question as well?
Yeah, I would like to say something. While Amy was talking about, what are some of the other things that the university is trying to have other than read and publish agreements, and I was wondering about that. In my institution at Oklahoma State University, I can speak for that. While I was going through the list of all the open access journals and how they are supporting the researchers, I could see that the focus is so much highly on the STEM focused disciplines, and there's less about humanities. I do believe that it's it's kind of a bigger system. And what again, I'm still thinking about Tim's question, and I am like, yes, we are still reproducing the same inequities even at the same circle. That if the university is promoting STEM-focused disciplines over the humanities one, so we are basically reproducing those, inequities that we talked about, at the power we talked about. So I do believe that with one of the questions that you said, that are there ways to pursue openness that avoid reinforcing vendors gatekeeping, and I do believe that I would advocate for one standardized fee across the journals, which is regardless of where you're approaching it from. For example, the Q1, Q2 journals, they are ranking of the journals, and they are really, Sam was talking about that earlier. It can be sometimes thousands of dollars, like $5,000 or $10,000, which humanly speaking, we just cannot afford. And even if we would have some support from the institution itself, it is not going to cover the entire cost, right? So we would have to cover the partial cost for it. So how about having some standardized cost, like Q1 journals would have a standardized cost, and we know that this is what we are expecting it to be, and it must not vary from one journal to the other. That is how I do think that having these cost expectations out there would have researchers be mindful about. This is also a matter of equity, right? So it is equal for everybody who is producing work, who is researching, and who is getting to decide the journal that they can decide for themselves, or whatever and however the institution can support them.
Sidra, I think Barbara Walker had a follow-up to the past question that she had. It says, how do you stay abreast of the various read and publish licenses that your institution has? I think that was for Sam and Sidra, yeah.
Sorry, which comment were you referring to?
Exactly, which one?
It's in the, sorry, I found it in the Q&A session.
Okay.
So the original question was, are either of your institutions participating in read and publish agreements specific to your disciplines and or study? And then there was a follow-up question to that. It says, how do you stay abreast of the various read and publish licenses that your institution has?
I think we do have a listserv that goes like every week or so. And if there are any changes that they are making in the library, or there are any more agreements coming in forth, they always try to make the students and the faculty informed about that. And that is how one way of knowing it. And and I really like to keep up with, when you are a researcher, you try to keep up with all of this kind of information which the institution is listing out, and how you can benefit from it.
Oh, there's a question. Oh, Sam, did you have any comments on that one? If not, there is a second question that just came in. I might read it for any three of our panelists, but it says, if we choose subscription model to publish our work, does this have any disadvantages regarding the scientific value or any other negative impacts to the published paper?
So again, for me, if we're still talking about how do we know to say abreast about what the institution has, it is I reach out to the library if I want to publish about something, and this is how I'm going to stay informed. Or if I'm a person who always check like the website, I can check the library website.
Thank you, Amie, for your comment on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I'm happy to start off the conversation about the second question as well, as far as choosing the subscription model. I think as a whole, the only true negative impact that you would be looking at would be that increased or decreased visibility. Researchers who are in locations or at institutions where they're not subscribing to that content, they're not going to see that work unless the researcher or you as the researcher has gone out of your way to make sure that it has been posted on your blog or in some sort of repository. As far as overall negative impacts, every journal has advantages and disadvantages, whether those are subscription or open access, and you just have to really think carefully as far as, does that journal meet your aims and your scope? Is it a quality journal with a high reputation? Is there a good impact associated with it? Those sorts of things. But just the fact that it's a subscription journal itself is not going to be a negative. The only piece that you're going to see is that visibility citation advantage decrease.
Okay, thank you. I think I might, this is 9:56, I'll leave that to be the last question, but there were a lot of great questions in the chat. So if any of our panelists, feel free to address any of them if you'd like. We'll say, actually, before I move on, are there any other ending comments that either three of you wanted to say before we end the Q&A session?
I would just say that, thank you everybody for your time today. If you have any questions, if there are librarians on the call who want to reach out, you're always more than welcome to, or researchers as well. We're happy to help.
Keep those doors open. All right. So as the webinar does come to a close, I would like to share my sincerest thank you to all of our panelists and everyone who attended today. Thank you so much for being such wonderful participants and listeners. Wonderful questions that were asked today. I really, really enjoyed that. And was really pleasantly surprised to see how many of you stayed throughout. So thank you. Just as Amie was saying, conversation doesn't really end here. So feel free to stay connected with any of the panelists here today. Stay connected with me and Will through our website, social media channels, our emails are also listed on here as well. So if any of you have any lingering questions or anything about that, please feel free to reach out. We just to let you know, we will distribute the recording to everyone once it is available, and we'll kind of go from there. So thank you everyone for joining us. If the panelists have anything else they'd like to say at the end, you're more than welcome to, but thank you.
Thank you all. I really appreciate the invite. And yes, it is an ongoing conversation. And I hope that we keep this conversation alive. It's not done. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Their participation shows that it's a matter that everybody is thinking about and we should actively address. So thank you so much for giving a voice to all the researchers. And as a grad student, I'm really thankful that I was given this chance to speak for the graduate students and the research assistant community too. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you. Such a pleasure. All right. With that said, I'll go ahead and end it. But thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.